User-Centered Web Design, From Site Context to Page Types, Part 6. Narrated by Eric Vati. Here is an overview of this lesson. Welcome to our lecture on User-Centered Web Design, a discipline that puts real people at the heart of every decision. Rather than building a site first and then trying to convince users to adapt, we begin by asking who the users are, what they want to achieve, and what constraints they face. This mindset shapes everything from the hardware they use to the language they speak, ensuring that the final product is both useful and enjoyable. Throughout this session we will travel from the broad site context down to the fine details of individual page layouts, illustrating how each layer contributes to a cohesive experience. By the end you will see how design, marketing, and technical choices intertwine to create a site that not only works but also delights. Let us start by examining the key usability issues that arise when we look at a website as a whole. When we talk about the site context, we are referring to the macro-level environment in which a website lives. Four major usability challenges dominate this space: keeping the user in focus, arranging content so it matches mental models, designing navigation that feels intuitive, and making the site discoverable through both design and marketing tactics. Each of these challenges can be broken down into concrete actions, but they also interact. For example, poor navigation can undermine even the best crafted content. Understanding these issues early helps teams allocate resources wisely and avoid costly redesigns later on. In the next sections we will unpack each of these challenges, starting with the core principle of a user-centered focus. A user-centered focus begins with a clear picture of who will be using the site and why. Designers ask questions such as, what problem am I solving for this user, and what devices will they be using? By mapping these answers, we can tailor the interface to the specific hardware, whether a high-end desktop, a low-bandwidth mobile phone, or a public kiosk. Network connectivity also matters. A site that loads quickly on a fiber connection may need a lightweight version for users on dial-up or cellular networks. Personalization goes a step further by predicting user preferences, such as showing recently viewed items or offering language options based on location. When the user feels that the site anticipates their needs, engagement and satisfaction rise dramatically. Content positioning is not a decorative exercise, it is a strategic alignment of information with user expectations. First, the site's primary goals, whether to sell products, provide support, or share knowledge, must be highlighted on the home page, often through prominent buttons or tabs that use familiar keywords. Next, designers work with stakeholders to list the tasks users will perform, then rank them by importance. High-priority tasks receive prime placement, while lower-priority functions are tucked deeper in the hierarchy. Finally, the overall site structure should reflect how users think about the domain, grouping related topics together and using clear headings to reinforce those groupings. By doing so, we reduce cognitive load and help users locate what they need without unnecessary clicks. Navigation is the bridge that connects users to the information they seek, and it operates on several levels. A visitor may stay within one site, moving from the home page to product pages, or they may hop across sites to compare options, requiring consistent cues such as breadcrumb trails and clear back buttons. Some users arrive with a specific goal, like purchasing a ticket, while others wander to discover new content, so navigation must support both direct paths and exploratory routes. The design of menus, sidebars, and footer links should mirror the site's information architecture, ensuring that the visual pathways match the logical organization of content. When navigation is aligned with the mental model of the user, the experience feels seamless and confidence grows. Visibility straddles both marketing and design, because a site must be found before it can be used. From a marketing perspective, establishing reciprocal links with reputable sites, joining banner exchanges, and submitting pages to search engines increase inbound traffic and improve search rankings. On the design side, strategic placement of keywords, especially near the top of the page and within meta tags, signals relevance to both users and crawlers. A domain name that reflects the business name or core service makes the site easier to remember, while offering language alternatives broadens the audience. Together, these tactics ensure that the site not only reaches its intended users but also presents a professional, trustworthy image. Zooming in from the site level to the individual page, a new set of quality criteria emerges. Consistency means that fonts, colors, and navigation elements behave the same way on every page, reinforcing familiarity. Coherence refers to the logical flow of information, where each element supports the overall message. Decisions about where to place information, how to code it, HTML versus CSS, and which colors to use affect both aesthetics and accessibility. Text clarity, choosing legible typefaces, appropriate line spacing, and concise wording prevents user fatigue. Finally, selecting the correct page type, home, content, or transaction guides the design choices that follow. In the next sections we will explore how to arrange information visually to guide the eye. Page design is essentially visual information management where layout, typography, and illustration work together to steer the user's gaze. When a page loads, the eye first scans large shapes and colors, noticing contrast between foreground elements like a bright button and the muted background. By strategically placing high-contrast graphics at the top left, designers create a visual anchor that draws attention immediately. Once the eye lands on a graphic, it naturally moves to accompanying text, allowing the message to be absorbed in a logical sequence. This hierarchy reduces the effort required to locate key information and improves comprehension. Designers can test these patterns with eye tracking studies to confirm that the intended visual path aligns with actual user behavior. One of the most reliable ways to give users a starting point is to place the site's logo or identification in the top left corner, a convention reinforced by countless websites such as Amazon and Macromedia. This position aligns with the natural left-to-right scanning pattern of Western readers, ensuring that the brand is seen first. In addition to the logo, designers often introduce a large, eye-catching graphic or a subtle animation that stands out from the surrounding content, acting as a visual cue that signals the main story or featured product. By differentiating this element through size, color, or motion, the page creates a hierarchy that guides the user toward the most important information. When these visual strategies are combined, users feel oriented and confident about where to look next. Websites typically consist of three fundamental page types, each serving a distinct purpose within the overall architecture. The home page acts as the front door, presenting the site's identity, summarizing key offerings, and offering clear pathways to deeper sections. Content pages dive into the subject matter, presenting articles, product details, or multimedia, and often include subheadings and internal links to related material. Transaction pages are interactive zones where users complete actions such as purchasing, signing up, or submitting forms. These pages must be explicit about required steps and provide immediate feedback. Recognizing the unique design requirements of each type helps designers allocate space, choose appropriate navigation elements, and set expectations for the user. A well-crafted home page should instantly convey who you are and what you offer, often through a prominent logo and consistent branding elements. Because users typically skim the home page, it is crucial to keep the most important information, such as a tagline, primary call to action, and top navigation, within the first screenful, avoiding the need for scrolling. Links to the main sections of the site should be visually distinct, using buttons or highlighted text that guide the eye toward the next step. The layout should also reflect the hierarchical structure of the site, placing the most critical pathways at the top and secondary options lower down. By limiting textual clutter and focusing on visual cues, the home page becomes a welcoming gateway that encourages deeper exploration. Content pages are the workhorses of a website, delivering the detailed information that users seek. To keep readers oriented, designers break the page into logical sections, each introduced by a clear subheading that signals the topic that follows. This structure not only aids scanning but also supports accessibility tools that rely on heading hierarchies. Unlike the home page, content pages can be longer, allowing for in-depth explanations, images, and multimedia. However, even lengthy pages should provide a table of contents or sticky navigation so users can jump directly to sections of interest. Finally, each content page should offer links to related articles or resources, as well as a breadcrumb trail that lets users return to the home page or higher-level category with a single click. Transaction pages are where users perform critical actions such as purchasing, booking, or submitting personal data, so clarity and feedback are paramount. The primary call to action, whether at Buy Now button or at Submit link, must be prominently displayed and labeled in plain language, eliminating any ambiguity about what the user should do next. After each interaction, the system should give immediate feedback, such as a confirmation message or visual cue, reassuring the user that their input was received. For multi-step processes, a progress bar or step indicator helps users understand how far they have progressed and what remains to be completed, reducing anxiety and abandonment rates. By designing transaction pages with these principles, we create a smooth, trustworthy experience that encourages successful completion of the intended task.